There's a woman in your life who has been 3 different people in 10 years. A graphic designer, then a nurse, then someone quietly building a business out of her kitchen table. And every single time, she left right when it started working. Most people call that restlessness. A commitment problem. Something she'll grow out of. Psychology calls it something else entirely. Because what you're about to hear will change how you read every woman who has ever been told she just needs to pick one thing and stick with it. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the M-type brain works, why it walks away from mastery on purpose, what it's actually hunting for, and why the trait everyone treats as her greatest flaw is the rarest cognitive asset she owns. She is not a modern invention. She shows up in every generation, every culture, every family photo album. The great aunt who spoke 4 languages and ran a farm alone. The mother who rebuilt an engine on Saturday and wrote poetry on Sunday that nobody ever read. You know her by the evidence she leaves behind. Half-filled notebooks in 3 different handwriting styles, a bookshelf with no theme, tabs open on 6 subjects that have nothing to do with each other, a skill she picked up over one weekend that would take most people a year, and a resume that makes hiring managers frown. In 2010, a career coach and writer named Emily Wapnick gave this pattern a name. She called it the Multipotentialite, a person with many interests and creative pursuits, wired to move between them instead of settling into one. M-type, multipotential, many doors, one mind. We're going to walk through 7 truths about this brain, how it works, what it costs her, and where its real power actually lives. They get heavier as we go. Let's start with the one that surprises almost everyone. Number 1. She isn't quitting. She's finishing. She doesn't abandon things. She completes them. Just not the way anyone else measures completion. Here's the mechanism. For most brains, the reward is the outcome, the title, the certificate, the mastery. For the M-type brain, the reward is the learning curve itself, the steep part, the part where everything is new and the mind is being rebuilt in real time. Wapnick found this pattern again and again in multipotentialites. The moment the curve flattens and the work becomes repetition, the internal reward simply stops arriving. The project is over. She has finished it. Everyone else is still watching the outside of the building, waiting for her to move in. So when you asked her why she left a good job and she said, "I don't know, I was just done," she wasn't being vague, she was being exact. She had extracted everything her brain came for. Here's what that actually looks like from the inside. She spends 18 months obsessed. She gets good. Then one ordinary Tuesday, she realizes she can predict the whole year ahead of her, and something behind her eyes quietly closes. Nothing went wrong. She simply reached the end of the part that was alive. But finishing early is just the surface. What's happening in her nervous system while she learns? That's where it gets fascinating. Number 2, her brain is running on a different fuel. Novelty isn't a preference for her, it's a biological requirement. Personality researchers Robert McCrae and Paul Costa spent decades mapping the trait they call openness to experience, the appetite for new ideas, new sensations, new frameworks. It sits at the top of the M-type profile, and it isn't philosophical. It's chemical. High openness brains show a stronger dopamine response to novel information. The unfamiliar literally rewards them, which means the same routine that makes another person feel safe makes her feel like the lights are dimming. That's why she can study something obscure until 3 in the morning and then can't answer a simple email for 6 days. It was never about discipline. One task feeds the system. The other starves it. And this is why advice never works on her. Every productivity system ever written assumes the problem is that you don't want to do the work. Her problem is the opposite. She wants it so badly that when the newness drains out, no amount of willpower can manufacture the signal her brain runs on. Now here's where it gets more complicated, because this is the part most people, including the women themselves, don't fully understand. Number 3, she isn't chasing happiness, she's chasing depth. The M-type woman is not looking for fun. She's looking for a very specific state, and almost nothing else will do. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi named it flow. That condition where challenge and skill are perfectly matched and time disappears. He found flow only exists in a narrow band. Too easy, and you get boredom. Too hard, and you get anxiety. Here's the problem. She learns fast. So the band closes fast. What gives an ordinary learner 2 years of flow gives her 4 months, and then the door shuts and she has to find a new one. So no, she isn't restless. She's a woman who has tasted the deepest state the human mind can enter and refuses to spend her life outside of it. And this next one, almost everyone around her gets it completely wrong. Number 4. What looks like flakiness is actually a decision she already made. The people who love her think she's drifting. She isn't. She's choosing over and over, and she's choosing against something they can't see. Psychologists call this the fundamental attribution error, or habit of explaining someone's behavior by their character instead of their situation. From outside, the pattern reads as unfocused, unreliable, can't commit. From inside, it reads as I refuse to spend the next 30 years in a room where nothing new ever happens again. Same behavior, 2 completely different stories. Only one of them is true, and it isn't the one being told at family dinners. So when she says she's leaving something stable, she isn't being reckless. She has already run the cost. She just ran a different one than you would have. If you're the kind of person who actually thinks about the women in your life, really thinks about them, not just what they do, but what's happening underneath, and you're still here, that tells me something about you. It would mean a lot if you hit subscribe. We put out videos like this every week, Real Psychology, explained in a way that actually makes sense for real people. Number 5, the hidden cost is exhaustion nobody sees. Here's the part that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Being able to do many things well is not free. It's expensive, and she pays daily. Psychologist Barry Schwartz called it the paradox of choice. His research showed that more options don't produce more satisfaction past a certain point. They produce paralysis, second-guessing, and regret. Now apply that to a woman who could genuinely succeed at 9 different lives. Every path she walks is 9 paths she's actively grieving. That's not indecision. That's a mind running loss calculations in the background, all day, every day, for free. So when she seems tired for no reason, understand what you're looking at. She isn't tired from what she did today. She's tired from everything she was also capable of doing and had to let die. And there's a second cost stacked on top of it. Because she's competent at nearly everything, she becomes the person everyone hands the hard thing to. She gets no protection from being good. The reward for capability is more weight, and almost no one thinks to check whether she wanted any of it. But this is the root underneath all of it. Number 6. Somewhere early, she learned that being one thing wasn't safe. Every M-type woman has a moment in her history when the world tried to file her under a single word. Carl Jung spent his life on this. He described individuation, the process of becoming a whole self by integrating every part of you, including the parts that don't fit the story others prefer. Jung warned that when we're forced to live as one narrow role, everything we cut off doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It waits. And for a woman handed a single acceptable identity early, the smart one, the pretty one, the reliable one, the M-type pattern becomes an act of survival. If she never stays one thing, she can never be reduced to one thing again. That's why her interests feel almost defended. They aren't hobbies. They're the pieces of herself she went back for. Listen for it, and you'll hear it. Ask her to drop the thing she does on weekends, the one that makes no money and goes nowhere, and watch how fast the temperature drops. You didn't ask about a hobby. You asked her to hand back a piece she already lost once. Which brings us to the last one. And honestly, the most important, number 7. She isn't scattered. She's a bridge. Everything you've been taught to read as her weakness is the exact machinery behind the rarest kind of intelligence there is. Author Franz Johansson called it the Medici effect, the finding that the biggest breakthroughs in human history happen at intersections where someone carries knowledge from one field into a field that had never seen it. Specialists go deeper into a single tunnel. She walks between tunnels, and she is the only one who can see that they connect. The nurse who understands design solves problems in a hospital that no designer and no nurse could solve alone. Not because she's better at either, because she's the bridge between them. So the depth she never got in one field, she has in a dimension most people don't have access to at all. She didn't go down, she went across. And notice what that means about every year she thinks she wasted. The design years weren't a detour from the nursing years. They were the other half of the instrument. Nothing she did was off the path The path was just wider than anyone told her it was allowed to be. So the next time you meet a woman who has lived 4 lives and can't explain her own resume, you know what you're actually looking at. You're looking at someone whose mind is paid in learning, not in titles. Someone who leaves at the top of the curve, because the curve was the whole point. Someone who is quietly grieving 9 other versions of her life so she can be present in this one. Someone who refuses to be one thing, because being one thing once cost her too much. She isn't unfinished. She's unabridged. And the people who stop asking her to pick those are the ones who get to watch what she actually builds. If you want to go deeper on the mind underneath this one, I put together a video on the psychology of people who are too aware. I think it'll hit just as hard. It's right here when you're ready.